All right, it's good morning, Anambra. Welcome to the show. This morning we are going to be looking at the 2022 International Day of Families. As we know, in this part of the world, family is so important. We all come from one family or the other, and family has helped in so many ways in molding us into making us what we are today. So on this program this morning, we are going to look at, first of all, we try to look at the families we had before now and the families of today. We have to look at the difference, what has happened over the years, where we have missed it in family life, and of course, look at what family is all about, what it should be, what it is as we speak. So to look at it and see how far we have gone and where to make amends. And I think it's equally important to the whole world. That's why this day they marked an important date to call it International Day of Families. And today, this year's theme happened to be families and urbanization. We're equally going to look at how urbanization has impacted on families positively or negatively. And in the studio this morning, I have Chizoba Nnabo. Chizoba Nnabo is a president, Civilization of Love Foundation. Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you. Welcome, viewers.
All right. We all are from one family or the other. Could you please describe family for us before we move on?
Okay. Thank you very much. Family is the foundation of society. It is the place where human life is welcomed, nourished, and cherished. It is a place where the fundamental virtues, human virtues, are encountered, taught, lived, and learned. Individuals who become citizens come from the family, as well as Christians, they come from the family. And it is actually in the family that a child is exposed to religious practices.
Okay. Now, what can you say, or how would you say the family, how did you see the family of yesteryears and family we have today? What's the difference, or how can you describe the families in the 70s and 80s with the families of the 21st century?
Well, I can tell you that families of yesteryears are more bonded than the families we have today. Reasons include the fact that parents these days no longer stay or give quality time to their children, unlike in the past. In the past, women do not engage in any kind of work. They work, but then they stay closer to the home in order to take care of the family, especially the children. Being a housewife in the olden days was a value, unlike now. People think that becoming a housewife is degrading. But the truth of the matter is that being a housewife, holds the key to even the economic prosperity of the family. Think about the money that would have been spent on cooking, paying nannies for house chores, and even other things that housewives do, including providing the emotional stability for the husband who work outside the home. So you see that in the olden days, people are closer to the family. But now, family is being attacked from all sides, from members of the family and from other external, bodies. So I would say that the family of yesteryears is stronger, better, and in fact, closer to what God created it to be, unlike these days.
All right, families of yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. When we talk about family, it's supposed to be a continuous thing. That's why we have procreation. You know, your father hands over to you. You go ahead to recreate individuals that hand over to another generation, and that's where it moves. And these days, from what you've just described, is as if there's a breakage kind of in the bond that is supposed to be continuous. What do you think has happened along the line?
Yes, just like I said, because parents abandoned their responsibilities to the family. Like the emphasis more now is on materialism. You want to be like the others. You want to build skyscrapers. You want to have all the good things of life, while diminishing the primary purpose of the family. So parents have abandoned parenting. And like I continue to say, being a parent does not necessarily, being a biological father or mother does not make you a parent. What actually makes you a parent is that you are there for your children, providing quality time, providing guidance, being a good role model. In fact, whatever you want to see in your children, you as a parent is supposed to model it. These days, what we see is that parents abandon their children. They give them phones and, all sorts of gadgets, thinking that that will replace their role as a parent. But that is not true.
All right, let's come down a bit to Ndibo that we are.
Yes.
And let's see the families in Igbo land, what it used to be. You know, I remember growing up, sometimes your parents will send you to an auntie's place. You visit your aunties, you visit your uncles. Sometimes in Omuna, that's the clan.
Yeah.
They can't stay and watch a young man or a young woman, just while away time, not doing anything. They must have to pick the person and send the person to somewhere to learn one thing or the other. That is the family culture in Igbo land. Do you we are still upholding that legacy today in Igbo land?
Well,
because I know it helped a lot during that time to build that. Sometimes you go through biography of some great men, you will hear about an uncle that took so and so person to Onitsha so time. That's the bond that you talked about earlier. So do you think we're still upholding it today, and what do you think it has done to us as a people?
Traditional mentorship.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's just like you said, sending one's child to an uncle, a good auntie,
Who is actually good?
Of course.
Who is actually good?
Well, it's subjective.
Okay.
Good. But then, sending our children is is part of the process of education in the family. But that is not to replace the responsibility of the parents. But it also helps. Unfortunately, these days, there is erosion of values.
It's not the issue of parents now, it's family. Yeah. What family is in Igbo land. You know that time that you can't misbehave and your uncle will see you and let you go.
Of course.
Yes, so that's what we are saying here. Family in Igbo land, what it used to be and what it is now. Okay.
Well, in those days, our people used to say, Ora mwenwa. Nwa bu nwa. That is to say, it is not only the parents, society, uncles, everybody has a responsibility towards the upbringing of a child. These days, what you see is that people, don't even allow their children to go to auntie's place or uncle's place. Or even if a child misbehaves and someone reasonably chastises the child, most times these days, parents do not welcome such. Instead, they find a way to, confront the person. So, it is very important for us to recapture those values that really help in the molding of the human person. And we have them, those traditional values, in Igbo land. So we need to go back to what we have lost, and then we'll try to capture them so that this concept of Nwabunwora will have to, be recaptured and lived in our society.
All right, in case you're just dropping by, it's 2022 International Day of the Family, and we know that we all come from one family or the other. We're here this morning with Chizoba Nnagbo, who is the President, Civilization of Love Foundation, and is here talking about what family is and what it should be. And remember that this program is audience participatory. You have the opportunity to call us with the lines on your screen to make your own contribution, or you can go to our Facebook page to drop your comment. Now, Chizoba.
Yeah.
When we talk about family, to me as a person, it's one beautiful thing that God has given everyone to be a part of a family. So to speak.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about those attributes or the importance of family in the life of an individual. What are the importance of family in the life of an individual?
Okay. In the first place, family, like I said, is a place where fundamental values that help to mold the human person is learned and lived. For instance, values of respect for life, respect for the elderly, which is being eroded in our society these days. The value of obedience, hard work, and not trying to cut corners, tolerance, forgiveness.
All right, let's welcome this person. Hello, good morning. Hello? Okay, go ahead.
The virtues of compassion, forgiveness, all these are learned in the family. And again, it is very important for us to mention that marriage is what inaugurates the family. And marriage is a covenant between a man and a woman, and not what we hear these days, union of persons. Union of persons could be union of two males or two females. That is contrary to the Maker's instruction. That is God's instruction, because God created marriage. Marriage is a natural institution between a man and a woman. So we need to instill that into our children, that marriage can only happen between a man and a woman, to the exclusion of others.
All right, the program is still Good Morning Anambra. At this point, to take a short break, let's feel the pulse of the masses. When we return, we look at the theme of this year's International Day of the Family, which is centered on family and urbanization. Let's see how urbanization has actually impacted on the family, and much more. Don't go anywhere.
Great news for Anambra Broadcasting Service ABS audience. You can now watch ABS television through any of these ways.
Buy a terrestrial antenna and connect to your television. Search ABS Channel 24 Oka or ABS Channel 27 Onitsha. Install StarTimes cable decoder and search ABS Channel 113. Install Metro Digital cable decoder and search ABS Channel 29.
Watch ABS TV on your smart TV or smartphone by downloading Anambra Broadcasting Service app on Google Play Store. Also watch via ABS Facebook page at ABS Radio Television and ABS YouTube page at ABS Television Oka.
ABS TV is now also on satellite. You can watch us from anywhere in Nigeria and other African countries. Simply install our TV decoder brand and tune to channel 315 or install any free-to-air satellite decoder and search for ABS TV.
Whichever option you choose, stay abreast of breaking news, documentaries, children's shows, talk shows, comedy, sports, movies, and lots more on your darling TV station.
For adverts and program sponsorship, contact 0803 388 8526 or 0806 883 9902. ABS, Heartbeat of the East.
All right, we do apologize for not being able to bring you the street walk as earlier promoted, hoping it will come before the end of the program. As it stands, we are still looking at the 2022 International Day of the Family with the theme, the family and urbanization. In the studio, I have Chizoba Nabo, who is the President, Civilization of Love Foundation. Now, let's look at the theme for this year's International Day of the Family, which is family and urbanization. And before now, when we were talking about our family in Igbo land, we know that majority of the people stay in the village. Let's see who is here before we go on. Hello, good morning. All right, a lot of people, most people stay in the village, but I know that this 21st century, a lot of people are now in the urban centers, while their parents are back there in the village. Let's see, how do you think urbanization has actually impacted on the family, positively or negatively?
Well, let me begin with the positive.
Okay.
First of all, urbanization has led to increase in the income of families. Like we are in Oka here, the indigenes who have houses have the opportunity to rent their houses and make more money. Those who have cash crops, can sell and make more money, in cities than those in the villages. Urbanization has also helped in intermarriages and better appreciation of the cultures of the migrants. On the other side, urbanization, has made some of our cities unhealthy places for human beings. Like there is this issue of lack of infrastructures, because of short supply of electricity, there is noise and toxic emission from generators. There is this lack of housing. Many people squat, some are under the bridge, and a whole lot of problems. So urbanization has both positive and negative aspects.
All right, it has both negative and positive aspects. Now let's talk about the parents that are left behind in the villages. You will agree with me that some children or some don't remember to go back often to visit their parents, and with the emergence of the ICT, phones and all these gadgets, some people, they resort in making calls and all whatnot. Do you think that has not negatively affected the family?
Of course, you cannot replace person-to-person interaction, physical interaction, visits to villages. Phone cannot, replace such person-to-person interaction. So what I'm saying is that parents should encourage their children to visit home once in a while, at least during festive seasons like Christmas, Easter, and other, seasons, is very important, because if the parents are unwilling to take their children to the villages, it will be very difficult for the children to connect with their relatives in the village.
And you think that is not already happening?
It is happening, of course. There are some adults that don't even know their villages, and those who cannot even trace their houses or know their aunties and uncles or cousins. And this is very important, very, very important that, we strive to take our children at least down to the villages for them to know who are their extended
relatives,
family members.
Okay, now, the United Nations, actually, there is something they crafted from this team that is so important to me, which I believe will also be important to our viewer. It says this year's theme, Families and Urbanization, aims to raise awareness on the importance of sustainable, family-friendly urban policies. I don't know if you understand this, and what actually does it mean for awareness to be raised, on the importance of sustainable, family-friendly urban policies. What does it mean?
Okay, it is simply making sure, of course, our urban planners have a role to play in this respect, for the government to issue policies and then embark on programs that will promote the dignity of the human person, as well as promote the welfare of the family, where individuals in the family will have the conducive environment to live a good life and reach the potential height of their identities. So, it behoves on government to create that environment, which
and make
will
such policies
make such policy is part of the policy, is part of the environment that will actually promote, the welfare of the family, because family is very important. Strong families make for strong nations, and weak families make for weak
All right,
nations.
now the reality on ground is that so many families are not actually at peace with each other. You will agree with me on that. So many families are at war, loggerheads with each other. That, when we earlier talk about children visiting their uncles, their aunties, and you see that some families restrict their children from visiting because of this, what I mentioned earlier, that being at loggerheads, and other things. So what are the challenges that we face in this life as families? What are the challenges that families face, especially in this 21st century?
Well, families face a lot of challenges. You have the issue of divorce, couples not living together as husband and wife a very long time, unlike what we have in the olden days. You have the issue of hunger. You have the issue of unemployment, and issue of anti-life and anti-family policies, which affect the family adversely. So these are part of the challenges that we have, in the family. And also this issue of lack of access to health care. You will agree with me that, families, not all families have access to health care. Even the national health policy, and the state health policy limits the number of children that one can register under the policy. Yeah. And it's an anti-family, policy, because when you have 7 children and you are only allowed to register 4, what happens to the rest? So government should help in this respect to do something so that there will be programs and policies that will promote the family.
There's something I used to tell people, that the enemy, the devil, actually knows that when families are bonded, that when families are together in love, that there is tendency to achieve more. There's tendency to prosper in the family. There's tendency for everyone to be happy, and the society in turn becomes better for it. Now, when we looking at that, you know, what do you think we have lost, or we stand to lose when we continue living in disharmony in family?
Well, you can only achieve, you know, success in a peaceful environment. So peace is key to development. Without peace, even investors will not come. You know, there is disinvestment in conflict-prone areas all over the world. So peace is a very important, you know, and in fact a critical ingredient to development of the human person, of everything generally, economy, you know.
Because when we talk about it, like in you have a family, right?
Oh, sure.
And now, when your family is not at peace, you know, and one of your sons may grow up tomorrow to go and get a wife, what do you think will happen when the woman comes into such family and the family is not together? Does it become, to your tent, or Israel, you know, that the bond begins to break? Do you see it that way?
Of course, a man that has a disjointed family, you know, if he comes from a family that is at war or disjointed, he already has a handicap. He already has a handicap. So it's going to create a problem, a very serious problem, and it will take, you know, God's grace for that new family to really do well without peace, you know, in the parents' family.
Okay, it's still 2022 International Day of the Family, looking at the challenges we face as a family, especially in this 21st century. We take another short break here now to bring us the straight interview on family as a tool for peace and reconciliation. When we come back, we'll begin to provide a solution to having a stronger family in this 21st century. We'll be right back.
The basic unit from which youths emanate and then grow up into adults. And if you don't have that basic foundation that creates a kind of good upbringing, then you see that as a child grows up, he's not going to be very useful to the society. And this brings about having bad influence, being overriding the good attitude that might have been ingrained in the child. So now the family has the basic responsibility. Now the parents on their own have to, as much as possible, try to see that the influence on their children is reduced to the extent that the bad influences are filtered out and then the good influences are allowed to grow up. Because it is these good influences that will make the child to know that indeed there are certain things that are bad in the societies.
In the world, family upbringing, kissing young waggy training. Nwa mi mekwa n'ife dị otu a n'ime ya na ọ dịrọ mma imekwe konye mkpụrụ Chukwu ụmụaka enwe egwu Chukwu mgbe nwa nwere egwu Chukwu na-aga n'ụzọ ịma na ọbala na-atụ egwu ọma ntinye onwe ya ịdị na-eme ụmụ ife anụ maka a na-egbuzi mmadụ ka a na-egbu ọkụkọ. Ndị nne na nna tinye uchu ka ifụ na anyị na-akụnye mkpụrụ Chukwu inwe egwu Chukwu kachasị ya na nwa nwere egwu Chukwu pụta na society oge play well.
Families plays a very important role in the sense that once there is peace in the family, peace is definitely going to be outside, because most of the problem is being caused by the dropouts from the families.
The parents, they involve iji aka ha chịkọnọta ụmụ ha kụzigodolo ha ụmụ ha ife gbasalo ife that ụzọ nke onye nwanyị, because na mgbe ha bụ ụzọ kụziere ụmụ ha ihe gbasara Chineke ụmụ ha nwee ike wee mụta ya then they will be able to avoid ha nwee ike wee kwụsịgasịa that is wee chọpụta na
All right, still 2022 International Day of the Family with Chizoba Nabo in the studio. We are looking at, we've just taken to the streets to feel the pulse of the masses as they talked about family as a tool for peace and reconciliation. Now, Chizoba, I would like you to lend your voice to this. In what ways do you think family can form a tool for peace and reconciliation?
It is very simple. Going back to the Maker's instruction, we need to go back and live according to God's plan. By living according to God's plan, there will be peace. Not just peace, intra-peace, but peace between members of the family and even external people.
You know, I don't know how we can achieve. Let's be a bit practical here, because I know so many families are passing through some of these challenges we earlier pointed out, where there is no peace, where there is no love, where brothers and sisters are living like cat and dog, you know. And some people might be watching us now and may want to know what to put together to make peace reign in their various families. What do you think people can do actually to bring back peace in their families, or those that have peace to sustain that peace in their families?
Okay, well, living for others, sacrificing, you know, and as against using people or exploiting people, you know. There is need for couples who are intending to marry to look at the values that they have and they share, because it is the values, those values, that will make the family, you know, will make the couples to be compatible. If they look at the values and they think they are not compatible, the best thing is not to enter into, you know, marriage. And another thing is interference by parents. It brings a lot of conflict when parents want to dictate to their son or to their daughter how to live in his or her own family. You know, it is a recipe for marital conflict. So parents should know that the marriage of their son or daughter is different from their own and their own life. So there should be no interference whatsoever, you know, from parents or even society, the rest of them. The people should learn to resolve their conflicts, because naturally conflicts come. Conflicts, life, the negative, positive. Part is, develop conflict well. It learn a lot. Relationship will be transformed. But when you don't manage your conflict well, it can escalate to. So I want to emphasize on this issue of interference. Parents should stop interfering in the affairs of their children's marriages, and then demands, unreasonable demands from the parents, you know, also put tension into marriages that cause disintegration.
And people that already have peace, how can they go on to sustain that peace and ensure that nothing negative comes near?
Of course, trying to emphasize and continue with what works for them. Also, it's important for them to learn how to manage their differences, how to tolerate. No two persons are the same, even twins. Sometimes we even have intrapersonal conflicts, not to talk of when the other person is there. So we must have to manage conflicts and try and transparent in our relationships with our spouses.
Well, that's how it's been on today's episode of Good Morning Anambra, where we looked at the 2022 International Day of the Family. I've actually learned a lot. I hope you've learned a lot too on this. We could go on and on, but much time could allow us take, and I appreciate you much, Chizo Nabo, for coming. You are President of Foundation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and thank you so much for being a part of it. My name is Ngoko. Again tomorrow. Bye for now.
This is ABS, Heartbeat of the East.